Hey, somebody's got to pick the oranges. You did? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to the Professional Noticer.
That's great. Go ahead, make your jokes, Mr. Jokey. Joke maker.
Creating measurable results for people like you and families like yours, I am the Professional Noticer.
Hi, that's incredible.
Good on you, mate.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. While our topics on the Professional Noticer might seem to vary wildly at times, it's because the things you care about most are often greatly affected by the things you care about least. Therefore, we will field questions about business, spiritual issues, popular culture, and why does your garbage weigh more than your groceries did? My purpose here today and with every show we do is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life you would live if all your toughest questions were answered. The Professional Noticer is sponsored this week by the Traveler Summit Leadership Event. How about this? I'm excited, man. The Traveler Summit Leadership Event is going to be held March 9th, 2019 in beautiful Orange Beach, Alabama. My hometown. It's going to be a valuable 4-hour morning event. Live music, speakers, but no fluff. Okay, well, they'll have books there, but I'm not going to stand up there and tell you there's books. You know there's books. Okay, Saturday morning, March 9th, from high atop the Phoenix 2 West, overlooking the white sand beach, the beautiful water of Orange Beach. We're going to start sharply at 8:30 and go till 12:30. I'm speaking, of course, but I'm also excited because I'm going to MC the entire event. So if you don't like me, this is not going to be for you because I'm going to be on stage a lot. We're going to have special guests, of course, Richard Wright, former CEO of a billion-dollar corporation. He was named the Distinguished American from the NFL Foundation. He's going to be speaking on the 6 pillars of character. We have Sherry Wright, who began her career as a teacher, and Sherry's an entrepreneur who has been named Citizen of the Year by the March of Dimes. She'll be speaking on living without fear. During my time, I am going to reveal the leader's secret weapon. And guess what? We have musical guests. Sugarcane Jane is going to be there. You hear a little of what they do each week here because Sugarcane Jane wrote and performed our theme song. But this is an amazing couple. This is an Americana husband and wife duo that will blow you away. I say Americana because they hit the Americana charts on Sirius XM radio regularly. So this is going to be great. But the tickets are limited, and you have until January 31st to take advantage of the early bird special. Early bird price is $99 for the entire event, but the price will increase after January 31st. Just go to the homepage on andyandrews.com. There's a button right there to click to the information about all of it. That's the Traveler Summit Leadership Event, Saturday, March 9th in Orange Beach, Alabama. Okay, observations and answers is what we do here. I deliver the observations, but you provide the questions, and we appreciate that. We need your questions. Questions are a critical component to the person that you and I aspire to become. Nobody should be embarrassed to ask a question. The person who never asks a question, they either know everything or they know nothing. Just remember, the quality of your answer can only be determined by the quality of your question. So ask good ones. This week, our first question is from Wendy. She's from Kentucky. Let's listen.
Hey, Andy. This is Wendy from Kentucky. My parents were not very involved in my upbringing. I was fortunate to have my maternal grandparents step in and care for me starting at 9 months old. My parents were married, and I have an older sibling that lived with them. When I was 13, they divorced. My sibling chose to live with our father, so my mother made me move home to be with her. Shortly after their divorce, my father cut all ties with me. After a rocky year with my mother, she found a new husband, and I happily went back to my grandparents. She was involved in my life when it suited her or she needed something. 13 years ago, I finally tired of her theatrics, drama, and toxic personality and chose my happiness over her. I do miss having a mother, but I don't miss mine. I am now the mother to 6-year-old twin boys. They have asked before about who my mommy and daddy are. I've always told them I had a mama and a papa in the past, and they've been satisfied with that answer. My grandmother passed away in December of 17, and my grandfather 12 years ago. My biological father passed this past July, and I attended that funeral for my brother because he asked. As far as my husband and I know, our 6-year-old boys have zero knowledge that these people exist. They have never seen my mother and have only saw my father once when we stopped at my brother's house one day and didn't know he was there. He quickly went to hide behind the garage to get away from us. The only time he ever laid eyes on his grandson, and he runs. There is so much more I could add to this, but I know you do not have the time. My question for you, Andy, is how do I tell them my story? At what age will they understand? I don't want them to think that one day I will leave them with someone else. I know it's not something we can keep from them forever. Recently, someone asked about my dad. The boys heard it, kind of looked at me, and then let it go. I have some hard times when all I do is cry. I grieve over the loss of my mama as she was my last parent, but I also grieve over the parents I never had. I want to be honest with my boys, but I don't want to scare them or bring them into problems that are too grown up. Any advice is greatly appreciated. Thanks for all you do. My husband and I love the podcast. You are doing good work, Andy.
Wendy, thank you so much for the question. And wow, I know that was a very unusual childhood, probably a tough childhood in some ways, but a very blessed childhood in other ways because you had your grandparents that stepped in. And today I see a lot of grandparents stepping in, which I think, when that is needed, that is just absolutely awesome. I understand the situation you have now, and I feel for you and your husband having to figure that. Now, maybe I can give you some clarity on this. And I also sense that you are a great mom. I sense that you have learned a lot about what to do and what not to do by the examples you've been given. You've learned a lot about how to parent from Mama, and you've learned a lot about, what you don't ever want to have happen in your family from your biological parents. And so I sense that that your 6-year-old twin boys are in a great place with you and your husband. I do, again, understand your concern about when to tell them what. And here's what I would urge you to do. The sooner you can begin to fold everyday language into their lives, just about your life, the better off they will be. And the easier this will be for you to just figure out a way to just have those. I mean, this is what you want. Let me tell you what you want to avoid. What you want to avoid is sitting them down and saying, let me tell you something. Okay, now, if you wait too much longer, that's exactly what you're going to have to do. Because if they're 12 or 13 or 10, you're going to have to sit them down because they're going to have the why didn't you tell me questions. Okay. Right now, they're 6. And so they're not going to have a lot of the why didn't you tell me kind of things. And so you and your husband, you guys need to sit down and figure out the language that would be appropriate to easing this story into their lives. Now, another thing that you want to do, I see here, you said that that you have times when all you want to do is cry and you grieve over the loss of your mama. And and you grieve over the parents that you never had. I wanted to tell you that the grief, that awful, horrible, overwhelming grief that you have about Mama, that will pass. You won't ever not miss her. You will continue to miss Mama, but you won't have that overwhelming grief that just kind of shuts you down. You're going to have thoughts more and more often that float to the surface about the funny things she said and the kindnesses that she showed and the little quirky things that she had in her personality. And you and your husband and your boys will have more and more conversations about that. And so I just wanted to just hit that very quickly and let you know that grief you have for her, that hard hurt, is going to pass at some point. I think you have had an opportunity in your life. You can either you can choose to grieve over the parents you did not have, or you can see what you did have as a plus, as a positive, as an opportunity. I would really urge you to choose not to grieve over the parents you did not have. Okay, because this was not a choice that you made. This wasn't anything that you did that made them crazy or whatever you want to call your mom and dad. This wasn't anything that you did. This was their deal. Okay, and so I never had the relationship with my grandparents that you have had with yours. And so, and I hope this is a good analogy, but you wouldn't want me to grieve at not having a great relationship with my grandparents or not having an incredible relationship with my grandparents, because it was really kind of out of my control. I just wasn't around them a ton. When I was, they were busy. And so that was out of my control. Well, I would choose for you not to grieve over the parents that you never had, because it wasn't a choice that you made, but because those parents did not exist for you, you were given an unbelievable blessing that many people do not have, and that is an incredible, loving, learning relationship with your grandmother and your grandfather. And so with your boys, I just think that your boys are in a good place. I give you the little heads up that I think you need to start talking to them now. And just when you're talking about this, just remember you want to make it casual conversation, and sometimes maybe casual conversation with your husband that they hear, and they might have a question but just keep in mind that if you act like it's no big deal, they will get the idea that it's no big deal. But if you act like this is some huge family trauma, then they will be traumatized, okay? There will be plenty of time, sometimes maybe during these conversations, if you think it's appropriate. But most often, in other times, there will be plenty of times to tell your boys, Mom and Dad are never going anywhere. There's nothing you could do to make us love you less. No matter who you become, no matter what you are, no matter what you do, Mom and Dad love you always and forever. And we are never leaving. We will always be with you. I mean, there will be plenty of times to say that. Bedtime, there will be times walking, in the backyard. But you'll get that message across. Hey, listen, I appreciate the question, and I would like to send you. I just love the idea that you're raising two boys. And I have a parenting course that's called 100-Year Parenting. And I would like to send that to you. Okay. And so, Matt, will you just make sure that Wendy gets this? Okay. And so I'm just going to send that, and I think you'll get a kick out of it. Some of it's funny. Some of it will help. I think all of it is very appropriate, and I'm excited for you. And so just take a breath. Everything is good, Wendy. Everything is really, really good. These boys are young, and they are fortunate to have you as their mom. Okay? Thanks a bunch. I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing some common sense and wisdom to plow through the challenges that you have all the way to an answer for you. Our next question is from Lindsay, and she's from Pennsylvania. Let's listen.
Hey, Andy. This is Lindsay from Pennsylvania. I've been a high school counselor for nearly 10 years, and I love what I do, but was wondering if you had some thoughts on something I've seen students struggling with time and time again. So many feel the pressure of always needing to have the right answer. Many times, when they don't know the correct answer on a test, they'll skip the question entirely. Obviously, that leads to getting the wrong answer automatically, but somehow in their mind, not answering at all is better than attempting an answer that is most likely wrong. I believe this mindset stems from fear of failure or fear of looking stupid. How would you tackle explaining that failure is okay, and the important thing is to keep moving forward in their thinking? Thanks so much.
Lindsay, that is a great question. I think this is something that young people have in common, that all over the world, I think young people struggle with kind of looking around and going, I don't know the answer. I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to stand out. I don't want to be wrong. Because there seems to be a lot. I mean, if you just kind of follow social media or you see anything on television, people are yakking about who's wrong and that's wrong and you're incorrect and you're misinformed. And it seems very mean. I mean, most of the examples our kids grow up with on television and in social media, most of the examples our children grow up with watching people be wrong are pretty mean. And they seem like an attack. And so you can certainly understand why kids don't want to be wrong. And I saw this in our boys. There was a time that our boys, and they kind of hit it about the same age, but there was a time where they didn't want, I saw that they didn't want to try something. They didn't, or if they tried it and they weren't good at it, they didn't want to keep after it. And there was this kind of thing of, I can't do that. Or, I'm not good at that. Or, well, I don't know that. And so there's I've seen what you're talking about. I've seen, I've talked to people, I've talked to friends who said, I can't believe my kid made a 75 on the test, and he would have made a 75 if he'd have missed the answers, but he made a 75 because he just left half of it blank. But I guess that would be a quarter of it blank. But in any case, I know what you're talking about. I really believe there is huge value in teaching the word yet to young people and in teaching process to young people. See, I think that to a young person, you either are or you aren't. You either know or you don't. Young people, the younger a person is, the less likely they are to have observed a process. If you look at a little kid, Polly and I were somewhere the other day and saw this 3-year-old kid just busting through the weeds of this vacant lot, just running full out barefooted. And, you just like cringe. But you also think, well, obviously, this kid has never had a sticker in his foot. This kid's never stepped on anything bad. And so he just doesn't know. It just kind of is what it is. Well, you get up into the teen years, and if a teenager has not observed a process of somebody not knowing something and then learning it and then getting better and then getting better and then getting better, I mean, it's easy to see how, not just with answers on a test, but it's easy to see how a kid can go, can pick up a guitar and, have a lesson or two at a guitar and just say, I can't play. I can't do this. I mean, there's a lot of kids that pick up a baseball bat and they take a few swings, or they pick up a glove and I can't catch. I can't hit it. There's, ping pong is a great example. We play ping pong at our house, and that's a great example. You pick up a ping pong paddle for the first time, in general, I don't care who you are, you can't play. Okay, but see, the reality is not that somebody can't catch, or the reality is not that somebody doesn't know, or that somebody can't do it. The reality is that they can't do it yet. They don't know yet. They can't play yet. Nobody ever like picked up I guess a couple of people have probably picked up a guitar and just could play, some kind of prodigy or something. But in general, normal people like us, it's a process to learn how to play. It's a process to learn that, if you're taking a biology test, it's a process to learn, the anatomy of a human body. It's a process to know all the parts, and it's a process to understand how to take a test. Because if you're taking an anatomy test and you have already answered arm and head and shoulder and chest, well, you don't know an answer. One thing you do know is, if you understand process, the answer is not going to be arm or shoulder or head or chest. That was already the answer. So you're already learning how to take a test, because you're learning how to understand the process, understand how tests are given. There is a process that you just don't know yet. There is knowledge that you do not have yet. You can't hit the ball yet. I mean, how many pro players in the major leagues, they couldn't hit a curveball yet. They had to learn how to hit the curve. They had to, if they were going to play in the major leagues, I mean, that separates a low, like a single A or double A minor leaguer from a major leaguer. If you can't hit the curve, you can't play in the pros. Okay, so at that point, do these guys give up? I just can't hit the curve? No, I can't hit the curve yet. Can't play the guitar yet. So this may seem like a very simple answer to you, Lindsay, but I think this has a lot of bearing on a lot of kids and a lot of parents and a lot of teachers, to teach process, that it is a process to learn how to do certain things, to learn how to take a test, to learn how to study, to learn how to divine the answer from what you're learning in that classroom about this, just to understand the process of getting better athletically or intellectually. It's just something that nobody is good at yet. But that yet yields the hope of an awesome future. So, it's just the future's not here yet. Okay, thanks, Lindsay. Thank you so much. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing the tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower you and your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, smile while you talk. Shake hands with the kids you meet. And make sure you have an answer to the question, why do you bake cookies, but you cook bacon? And so, until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Blue shots for the cast and crew provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by GoatDamage.com. Are there goats in your neighborhood? Do you have a progressive neighbor who decided to move past the whole dog and cat thing? GoatDamage.com is your one-stop insurance shop for that special protection you need. Goats climb cars. Did you know that? Well, yes, they do. And those hard little hooves on top of your brand new BMW can make hailstorm dents pale by comparison. Goats also eat everything. If there's a goat near you, count your expensive landscaping gone. The garden hose coiled neatly beside your house? Gone. That UPS package of candy sent by a loved one? Gone. But the goats in your neighborhood are fenced in, you say. Not for long they aren't. Goats eat fencing as fast as they eat anything else. While you have been listening to this podcast, that tough-looking chain link? Gone. In fact, they're dancing on the top of your car right now. Traditional insurance won't help. You need GoatDamage.com. And you need it today.